So I have seen your film. I really love your film. The fact that you told a story about Nepali people. Like my
Yeah,
life is pretty privileged as I
yeah.
compare them, but you told a story about Nepali people, Nepali migrant. That was really unbelievable. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
sure.
your mom is a national award filmmaker, Shalini Shah.
Yeah.
So from your childhood, you wanted to get into films. You knew you wanted to get into film industry.
No, not at all. It was just the opposite. I didn't want to get into films. And even though my parents at the time, now they've left it and they've come back to the hometown Nainital. But at the time when my mom was in Mumbai, she kept me in Nainital. And the sole intention of keeping me in Nainital with my grandmother was that so that I stayed away from films, because it's a very uncertain profession and there's no stability. And I think my parents have had a fair share of struggle even now. They weren't the so-called stars who saw the limelight. So it was very intentional. My mom kept me away from it and I never liked it. I was never keen about it. I never wanted to get into films. In fact, like all my friends now make jokes about it, that how I would say I would never get into films, and now I am into it. Yeah.
What you wanted to become at that point of time?
So at that point of time, obviously, I've done a lot of theater. I mean, even in school, I was doing a lot of plays. Even in Gargi in Delhi University in my undergrad, I was doing street theater, street play. But I knew that this was not something that I wanted to continue as a profession. I was good in my studies, so I had commerce in class 12, so I wanted to do economic honors and then maybe get a stable job. And but then it didn't turn out. I got English honors, and then then destiny just took over.
Yeah. You went to DU, Delhi University for your Bachelor in Arts in
Yeah,
English
yeah,
Literature.
yeah.
So there you found the interest in films and filmmaking.
So there, I did a lot of theater, because acting was something that I was really passionate about from the very beginning. In school, also, I was acting a lot in the plays, in the annual school plays. So when I went to college, there was this street play society called Shitij in my college, and I was a part of that street play theater society. So I did a lot of theater there. So the focus was on acting. I was acting a lot, and we would travel a lot, all 21 girls, all of us just traveling, acting, writing, doing theater, getting together. So that is where I got an interest in one would say acting and writing. I think that was what it was about in undergrad.
Ma'am, before going to UK, Durham University, you went to do your course. Did you assist someone? Did you?
No, I never wanted to get into films. So that was very clear. That's why I never assisted anybody. I would obviously be watching a lot of films because all my best friends, like now, they're into movies and they were very active about uh, their decisions of getting into films one day. So the circle that I had, also, we were doing theater. We were part of the theater society. Also, my parents were into films. So, unintentionally, I watched a lot of cinema right from childhood, because I was growing up in that environment. But I never assisted anybody. In fact, till undergrad or even postgrad, the idea was that I knew I was fond of writing and acting, and I chose writing, and I did my master's in creative writing. And I thought I'll write books and they'll get published, and I'll go back to the UK and continue with my PhD.
Ma'am, then you made Bahadur The Brave.
Yeah,
It went
yeah,
to San Sebastian Film Festival. You won an award, which has never been done. The new director.
yeah. We
Pukhar
won
ke
an
Dunno Par went there, but it was in the competition. It didn't won, but you have won the same award.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a
So
really
yeah,
huge thing, and congratulations first of all.
thank you so much.
So, ma'am, how the idea came to tell a story about Nepali migration people? I think it is from your hometown, it's from Nainital.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I was back in Nainital during COVID times. I was with my family. And at the time, all the Nepalese migrant laborers were being sent home in a bus, and everybody was home. And, in Nainital, in the hills, we are dependent on the Nepalese migrant porters for a lot of things. They're like the backbone of our society. And I've grown up with them. I've seen them. I've lived with them. They're a part of the DNA. But I think what really triggered me to tell a story about them was that there was this one time this Nepalese migrant porter came home. It was lockdown, and partial lockdown, and that there's some things that we are completely dependent on the Nepalese migrant porters for, and there was some tanks or there was something that had to happen. And I remember this Nepalese migrant porter had come home, and he was having a very funny bargaining conversation with my mother, where he was very insistent about charging a very exuberant amount, and that too during COVID times. And I looked at him, and I asked him that, everybody must have left, what are you doing here in Nainital, why aren't you back home? And he looked at me, and he had this expression on his face. And I think at that point I knew that, that there's so much more that I need to just discover, and I need to talk to him more about this. And just the idea that he was all by himself, and all his family, his folks, was back home, he was trying to earn money. And the idea that, how did this came to be? And that's when I started my research.
Ma'am, how long it took to like fully make the film, editing, searching, writing? How long time it took?
So I started researching about it during the COVID times itself, 2020, and finally the film came out in 23. So it took like good 3 years to just get everything done.
Was you easily find funding, or is it hard to find a funding?
It is very hard. It is extremely, extremely hard to find a funding, to find funding, especially for a film like this. When you set out, and I didn't know what to do at first when I wrote the script. It was very funny because I just wrote it because my friends wanted to make a movie. They had some equipments for a few days, and I ended up writing this screenplay. I researched on YouTube how to write a screenplay, and then my the equipments that they had to return it to somebody. So I was like, I have a script now, what to do? So somebody suggested, why don't you make a movie out of it? And I was just so done with everything that was happening around, I thought I should try. But it's extremely hard, because if you go out in Mumbai to tell a producer that you want to make a film, you don't want to take any known star, or you don't want to have music, they don't understand it, I think. That's the biggest struggle. I mean, nobody would want to put money into a movie which doesn't have a known person, or which doesn't have music or anything that is, according to them, sellable. So it is next to impossible. I mean, it is even now. Like, I just look back, and I just think it's the hardest thing to do, find funding in India for a movie, for an independent film, without movie stars.
Ma'am, how big was the crew?
The crew was not very big. It was fairly very small, and we had decided to keep it that way, so that, you know uh, firstly, budget constraints, we couldn't afford to keep a very big crew. And also, I believe in having a very limited productive people who can get the work done as fast and efficiently as possible. Yeah.
Ma'am, while watching the film, I noticed that there were a lot of long takes and static shot.
Yeah.
Was it intentional?
Yeah, it was not just because of the budget constraints, like everybody would want to believe. Because me and Madhura, I mean, the credit goes to my DP as well, Madhura Palit. We discussed from the very beginning that we wanted to, go with long takes. Also because I think the kind of film that we were trying to make, we wanted to tell a very authentic story about the Nepalese migrant porters, even though the narrative has its own dramatic moments. But apart from that, apart from the narrative, the setting, and what I was trying to tell, I thought, like, it would help me to be as authentic as possible in telling the kind of story that I was trying to. And I thought long takes wouldn't pull like, if I wouldn't go with long takes, I thought like the audience would be pulled out of that moment. And long takes would help me to linger in that moment, in that atmosphere, and would help to bring the authenticity that was needed in the film. So long takes was there. And also, we were the static shots, we were very it was the same reason, that we didn't want to move unnecessarily. We didn't want to move just because, we wanted a very documentary kind of a feeling to it, even though the narrative is dramatic. But the treatment of it, we didn't want a lot of dramatic treatment happening with a lot of camera movements. We wanted it to be static, so that it almost felt like we're trying to just document their lives. But the contradiction could be the narrative part of it. Yeah.
Ma'am, then it won the San Sebastian Award, went to Mummy, it won an award that you knew
Yeah.
that you made a film and it will win so many awards. It's getting critical acclaim as well.
No, not at all. Till the very last moment, I was so unsure. And as I told you, making a film like this, it's extremely hard. Nobody would believe it. It's still hard. I keep, like, every festival I go to, we don't have a budget for marketing. We don't have the money still to do a lot of things. So I keep telling people, we will do our just marketing by just telling people, guys, please write reviews if you like it. Please go on IMDb and like our film. And even when the film was screening at Mami, I remember me and my friends would just walk up to this queue and tell people that, there's this movie that we've made. We'd love for you to come and watch it. It's a struggle, and it's a never ending struggle. It just never ends. And I didn't expect it, obviously. Like, when we got selected and the work in progress lab by NFDC Film Bazaar, that was a relief because, the editing part of it and being mentored by Clemens Carr and having Deepthi Dukuna, that lab helped a lot, and I think post the lab, we were quite sure that we wanted to open at a good festival, but we didn't know when it was going to happen. There were a lot of rejections as well. And till the very last moment, we were unsure. But obviously, winning San Sebastian, also getting to know that we were the first film in 71 years, like the first Indian film to have won that award, was just, we were extremely grateful. And after the kind of struggle you go through to make a film like this, it just fills you with hope. And I think that's what I said when we won Mami, because I said that, it just fills you with hope, because when you're not in Mumbai, when you go back to your hometowns, you try to make a film that you think is honest, you try to put your heart and soul into it. Nobody wants to see it, nobody cares about it. You don't have producers that can back you up or even show that film to anybody. It's literally like you begging people to watch it. Guys, please watch it, please watch it. I'll give you my pen drive, I'll give you this, I'll give you that, just watch the film. So winning it is, obviously, it's a huge validation. Also fills you up with a little bit of hope that maybe there is hope. Maybe there is hope after all. Yeah.
Ma'am, were there non-actors? I think the actors who played Hansi and Bahadur were actors. All of
Yeah.
and
Yeah, so it was a mixture. It was a combination of both actors and non-actors. So Hansi, played by Rupesh Lama, he has done theater, but he's never acted in front of the camera. So we auditioned him, and the audition was also, we didn't have any casting agency or anything like that. It was just me and my AD just making posters and sending them on social media, making them viral. And the other, Dil Bahadur, which is played by Rahul Mukhya, he had acted in one film, and this was, I think, the second film that he'd acted in. The rest of them, the Bahadurs, were all non actors. It was a combination of actors, non actors. Like, I think one or two might have acted before, but the rest of it was fairly new, uh, non actors. And a lot of them were non
is it
actors.
easy to work with non-actors or is it hard?
It's very tricky, because I think it's equally hard sometimes, because when you have an actor and you are you have a certain idea in your mind, so you have to work with an actor in different ways, and you have to work with a non-actor in very different ways. Because with a non-actor, they're very conscious about the fact that there's a camera, and they wouldn't put in the kind of discipline that an actor would to get the right shot, because they don't really care. But you like them for their unassuming nature in their character. So you try to grasp that, and then you work very differently with non-actors, so that the uh, the fact that they're getting scared about the camera goes away. So you do rehearsals in a different way, so that they become confident in front of the camera, and then you work with them in different ways. You do rehearsals in a different way. Whereas with actors, it's different. If you want them to forget what they've learned, it's a lot of unlearning to do. Like, we would send Hansi and Dil Bahadur to work with all the Nepalese migrant porters who are actually in Nainital, and they would even earn money and show us that they've earned this much per day. So it's a different kind of routine and a different kind of ritual with actors and non-actors.
Ma'am, right now, Bahadur the Brave might be doing the festival run. So what is the
Yeah.
future in India? Like, you think it will release any OTT platform, Netflix, Amazon, or movie, and it may have a theatrical run as well? You
I mean, you as a filmmaker, you would want it to go as to the best platforms and to be released, to as many places as you can. And for now, we are just continuing with the festival run and just going around the festivals. But yes, obviously, I'd really wanted to release, whether it be theatrical or whether it be on an OTT, even if it is a good OTT platform, whatever it is, and it gets, I think, seen by a lot of people, because still Bahadur the Brave has not been watched by a lot of people, who have heard about the film, but all I get asked is, where do we see it? How do we see it? So that's been the struggle with us. So I think I just hope that we, get to get the film out on some platform, so that people can at least watch it.
Ma'am, currently are you doing any projects, future projects currently you're working on?
Yeah, yeah. So I wrote my second project, which is called Chap, Refuge. It's about the third generation Tibetan refugees in India. And that script was selected by NFDC Screenwriters Lab, and I was being mentored by Claire Dobbin. And it's in the process.
Great,
It's
great,
a work
ma'am,
in
great.
progress. Yeah.
Ma'am, please do recommend some films and filmmakers like which inspired you a lot.
Yeah, so there were a lot of films. I think with every film that I'm writing or I'm making, I think your inspiration kind of changes because you're inspired by different sort of movies. Like right now, with the next film that I'm doing, it's more like Xavier Dolan, who's made Mommy. And when I was doing Bahadur, it was Michael Haneke, who's made like Amor and all these films. And but the one film that has been an inspiration all along, because I wanted to write novels, and I've also written two novels that never got published, and I had a heart of a writer at all times. So it was always Charulata. I think that was the one film that I watched and rewatched, and it was like a ritual. I could watch it every day, day and night. So that was an all-time inspiration, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ma'am, if somebody wants to become a filmmaker, what advice would you give?
I would just say that do it, like don't give up and don't listen to a lot of people, because I mean, even though it was extremely difficult to make Bahadur, and also with Visvesh and Thomas, my producers, they, at the end of the day, they backed me up and they said, no, we wanted to get it out. Otherwise, it's extremely difficult to make a film like that. But winning San Sebastian was a little, we saw a little light at the end of the tunnel. So I think what I would recommend to any person who wants to make films, who wants to become a filmmaker, is just do it. Whatever it is, just write that script. Just keep working on it, and don't listen to a lot of people, because people will try to always put you into a category, put you into a box, and tell you कि ये नहीं हो सकता. This cannot be done because of that. That cannot be done because of this. But you got to just keep doing it, and when the time is right, it'll fall into place.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining the podcast.
Thank
I've
you. Thank
seen
you.
Bahadur The Brave,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think it's the most important film India need right
Yeah.
now. And
Yeah.
making a film about Nepalese immigrant, it's such a like brave, because you don't get funding, people don't want to
No,
say it.
not.
So
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
filmmaker, it's really tough. As a producer,
Yeah.
shout out to producer as well, because they have done the most important thing,
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
and all the crew. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, thank you. Please recommend the film, and if you've liked the film,
Definitely.
just write a review on
I will
Letterboxd.
definitely, ma'am.
We
I will
let
definitely.
everybody, yeah,
Sure.
and keep recommending the film.
Yes, ma'am. I will definitely do that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you,
Bye.
Akash.